The living room is where you make life's most beautiful memories. But your sofa shouldn't be the one remembering them. The new life-resistant, high-performance furniture collection from Ashley is designed to withstand all the spills, slip-ups, and muddy paws that come with the best parts of life. Ashley high-performance sofas and recliners are soft, on-trend, and easy to clean. Shop the high-performance furniture in-store or online at ashley.com. Ashley, for the love of home.
Hey everyone, it's Ted from Consumer Cellular, the guy in the orange sweater, and this is your wake-up call. If you're paying too much for wireless service, you don't have to keep having that nightmare. Consumer Cellular has the same fast, reliable coverage as the leading carriers for up to half the cost. So why keep spending more than you have to? Seriously, wake up and call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com.
Savings based on cost of Consumer Cellular single line 1, 5, and 10 gig data plans with unlimited talk and text compared to lowest cost single line postpaid unlimited talk, text, and data plans offered by T-Mobile and Verizon January 2024.
For exclusive podcasts and more, sign up at patreon.com/partnersincrimemedia.
I'm Rebecca Lavoie, and this is Crime Writers On. Crime Writers On is the original true crime review podcast that digs into true crime, pop culture, other podcasts. And in this episode, a man says his older sister was accused of killing her mother-in-law. But did his brother set her up to take the fall? Host Amory Sivertson searches for the truth in the podcast Beyond All Repair from WBUR. Joining me to get that done and more is true crime author, TV journalist, and host of These Are Their Stories podcast, my husband, and yes, love of my life. Sorry, one listener who doesn't like it when I say that, Kevin Flynn. Hello, Kevin.
You can't be jealous of love.
I think they're just annoyed.
Just annoyed?
Yes.
Okay, just annoyed.
Also with us is private investigator, certified pet detective, resident cat lady, and author of the Piper Green series of cozy mysteries, The Love of My Life, Laura Bricker. Hi, Laura.
Hey, Rebecca. And in my little quaint as fuck town where I've gotten involved, the scene of the Piper Green latest murder is going to remain a missing tooth of Water Street because our plan to get a park developed there soon was foiled.
You couldn't get it done, Laura, huh?
I couldn't get it done. I was pissed.
So it's just going to be an empty lot?
No, eventually there will be a park there, but we were trying to jumpstart it. So I had gotten involved with this group behind the scenes that had gotten donations and was trying to jumpstart some of it getting done. And we were shot down.
Ah. And finally, our resident Doubting Thomas, the author of the City Trilogy of novels, host of Strange Arrivals, and our Patreon Deep Dive Book Club podcast host, Amber Hunt. Hello, Amber.
Hi.
Just kidding. Amber Hunt is, of course, our substitute host, and Amber Hunt is the host of the incredible true crime podcast Accused and the co-founder of the amazing podcast network Grab Bag Collab, an incredible, intrepid investigative reporter who is also a Pulitzer winner. Hello, Amber Hunt.
Why, thank you. That was all very nice.
Well, it's all true. I'm only spitting facts, right? I'm not saying anything that's not true.
I haven't lobbied for any parks in my neighborhood, but I am super excited about the flashing crosswalk that now allows my son to get across the street safely every morning for school.
Nice.
Yeah, being a middle-aged woman, super excited.
I love it. I love it. I go out and stir the pot in the little community.
Listen, the biggest thing that's happened in my life politically, my local town clerk just made it possible for us to register our cars and dogs online.
Oh, yeah.
Woo!
We no longer need to go and stand in a stupid line next to a hand-painted mural.
Yeah, like monkeys.
To be fair, our town clerk's hall is very charming and it is very sweet to go there. But that being said, it's very easy to forget to do it. And their hours are wonky. It's like Mondays, 9 to 10, Tuesdays, 8:30 to 4. And it's just very easy to forget. And then next thing you know, you're getting pulled over by the cops.
Mondays always closed. Fridays is a question mark. Take a chance.
Exactly. All right. Well,
hold on here. I want to mention that Amber is here for a very special occasion.
Yeah? What's that?
This is the 500th episode of Crime Writers On.
Shut the front door.
Yeah. Go ahead. No, talk more about your fucking flashing lights. No,
All
that's
right.
cool. That's cool.
But that's
No,
not
I'm
in
going
the
to go
script.
set them off in celebration.
This is incredible.
Yeah, 500 episodes, except for Toby Ball. He's like at 498 at best, so.
Oh, my goodness. And he's the only person who's ever like taken off and gotten substitutes, right?
No, that's not true. Laura Bricker has.
I did once when I went to Colonial Williamsburg when you guys talked about the habitat or something.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then we had with missing disappearance of Maura McCann. The two of you are gone. Toby and I were with Sarah D. Bunting.
Yeah.
We've had Ronald Young Jr. on twice. Janet Varney's been on. So yeah, it's been a couple there. I missed one because I had cancer.
Oh, I'm not laughing at cancer, by the way.
No, you are laughing at cancer.
I'm laughing at you.
Having cancer.
Yeah.
I mean, he is fine now.
Yeah, I'm fine now. For our 250th episode, we did a big thing where we had like clips and stuff like that, and I didn't do it for this one because
You're lazy.
I'm lazy as fuck.
No, because you're busy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're busy doing things like planning for our live show next weekend
Wow.
in Exeter. It's part of Exeter Lit Fest. We have a live show at the Word Barn.
Yes.
In Quain AF, Exeter. Laura Bricker, tell us about what's going to happen.
Well, I don't know what's going to
Neither do
happen.
I.
Anytime when Kevin Flynn comes to the Word Barn, anything can
Oh,
happen.
my God. I'm going to run out of town on a rail.
I recommend you get tickets because you do not want to miss this show at the Word Barn. There'll be so much fun stuff happening in Exeter over that weekend. On Friday night, we are having a late night undercover speakeasy party. Late night in Exeter is 8:30.
Wow.
Yeah.
And on Saturday morning, we will be at the Crime and Mystery Writers Brunch, which will be very fun.
Which I am attending, as it turns out.
Which you are attending, and I will be playing my most favorite game, Two Truths and One Lie, with the Mystery Writers. And then Saturday night, the big finale.
Yeah, which is us.
Which is us.
And we will be doing at the show, we'll be recording an after show. And we will also be recording our review of the Hulu series Death and Other Details.
Okay.
And that will be in the feed a week from today.
Yes, with that dirty revolutionary Mandy Patinkin.
I didn't know who Che Guevara was when I was 7 years old. He was just had long hair, and I'm like,
And a
why
dirty
is
costume.
Why is he like looking at this woman who's singing to Argentina? I have
That's true.
no frame of reference for this stupid musical.
I know. And you didn't.
It's just between. I was watching Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein.
That's true.
And then I cut away to a commercial, and it's for Evita.
Yes.
And it stuck with me forever. And that's a Mandy Patinkin reference for those who.
That's correct. And his costume.
Amber Hunt is like, what the fuck? 500 episodes of this shit?
And his costume in that commercial was, in fact, quite dirty.
It was dirty. All right, so I wasn't wrong. All right.
Okay, I think that I cannot wait to talk about the podcast we're talking about in this episode.
Well, you've waited 7 minutes, so why don't you get into it?
That's short. We've had chit-chat sections when we've been trying to stall about talking about something that have been much longer than this. So let's do it. I can't wait. Let's do it. Leading off.
Even when asked point blank back in 2017, do you think she did it?
I don't know. Everyone's got a different story, and this is where I just kind of surrender to the justice system.
After profiling lawyer Shane Correia years ago for her podcast, part of his story stuck with host Amory Sivertson. He grew up under the cloud that his sister Sophia had been arrested for murdering her mother-in-law. And it was his brother Sean who said he witnessed Sophia commit the crime.
I seen someone laying on the floor, and there was blood all over the place, and there was someone standing over them. The person had something in their hand, a long object.
But something about the story bothered Sivertson. Would Sophia really beat Marlyne Johnson with fireplace tongs to steal some money? Why does blood evidence only point to Sean, who was given a deal to testify against his sister? But her own investigation takes several turns, and Sivertson wonders if she'll ever know who's telling the truth.
All I've wanted is to know what fucking happened. And this makes me feel like I know what happened.
In Beyond All Repair from WBUR, Sivertson offers up a classic murder mystery with an enthralling cast of characters. She brings a vibrant narrative style and leaves no stone unturned in her quest to find out who killed Marlyne. Spoiler alert, we are going to be talking about plot points from the first 5 episodes of Beyond All Repair. Although we have gotten preview episodes beyond that, I only want to mention that just in case we slip into that content.
And we forget to edit it out.
Exactly. But if you want to remain completely spoiler-free, please go to the estimated time code in our show notes for our thumbs up or thumbs down reviews. I forgot to say one thing, Kevin, that listeners listen out for.
What?
Significant plot points will be revealed. So Amber Hunt, Accused is in my great pantheon list of great true crime all-time podcast. In large part, and I don't want to put you on the spot, because of your writing and narrative style for yourself. I think Amory Sivertson has an incredible writing and narrative style for herself that actually reminds me a little bit of you in some ways.
You took my note.
Oh, I didn't even look at your notes yet.
Yeah, I said this reminds you, Amory reminds me of ... I was going to say Amber Hunt.
Oh, I didn't even see that. But there's
I'm not wrong.
There's a wryness, there's a humorous sensibility, but also some real investigative chops.
I am haunting Shane. Just kidding. But I am offering him information on Sophia's case as it comes in. And he has been offering me his thoughts on all of it in the form of voice memos.
I'm just trying to understand, what was going through her head.
I couldn't help but think, does Amber Hunt hear this? And what does Amber Hunt think of this narrative and writing style in this podcast?
Well, that's definitely a compliment because I liked the writing style quite a bit. I have one critique, and it is a critique that I throw back on myself a lot. So that also makes sense in that capacity. That's really kind of interesting.
What's that?
The only thing that kind of made me pause is that sometimes she over-relates her own story in ways to illustrate how universal certain themes are, but it's not necessary. It's enough in the story on its own. So sometimes it goes back to herself, maybe just a tad too much. And that is something that I'm really cognizant of in my own writing. It's a really tricky line, right? Where you want it to be relatable. You're taking listeners on a journey with you. So you're part of that journey. You can't excise yourself from it. But at the same time, you don't want to cross the line and make it more about you than about this other case.
Right.
So that was my only note. It's a very well-paced, incredibly well-investigated series.
Yeah. So, Kevin, I just want to give you a chance to weigh in here because we obviously don't want to spoil what's to come in this podcast.
Right.
Do you think there is a reason why Amory is revealing some of her own turmoil and struggle as she reports the story early on in the podcast?
Yeah, I don't want to spoil it because it is too good to spoil. Just when you think you know what's happening, things come up to sort of shake as a listener, shake your confidence in what you think you know. And later on in the podcast, you definitely will feel Amory's internal crisis growing. And I will say, remember this passage. Go suck your mother. When that comes up, you'll remember Kevin Flynn said, remember this thing. But I just want to say, off the top, this is a great podcast. To me, this is an instant classic with a mystery that's very straightforward and compelling. The goal in these podcasts is always to sort of solve the main question, either who done it or whatever. And that's difficult because a lot of times that just doesn't happen. It's very difficult to make that happen. But Amory makes me believe that she will give us an answer. And like we said, we've listened to 9 of the 10 episodes they've put out, and I was freaking out of my mind that I couldn't get the last episode.
That's right.
Because I got to know what happens.
Yeah, Kevin and we went on
I wrote to WBUR. I'm like, what is this actual shit, man?
I wrote to Amory in my DMs. I was like, so is that Dropbox going to be updated anytime soon?
My.
Not going to lie. This is, I will say, Laura, the first time in a very long time, I think maybe since Suspect season 1, this is the first time, I don't know, I can't say in how long, where I have been in a situation where it's I was angry, so I had to work. I had a really hard, long, very busy day at work the other day, and I listened to a bunch of episodes in the morning, and I had to stop, and I was so mad that I had to stop listening. And it's very, very rare, I think. We listen to a lot of podcasts that are good and very, very good in instances, but it is rare to hear a podcast that, you finish an episode and you're gotta listen to the next one, gotta listen to the next one. But she has a lot of the right people, which doesn't hurt, right?
Oh, absolutely. And when she ends an episode, like I think even the first episode, it's like that last sentence is always something that is the hook. It's like when you're reading a really good book and they end a chapter with like that hook where you were like, oh, now I'm going to turn the page because I want to know what happens next. But I mean, the fact that we've got Sophia, and we know from the beginning now that Sophia is ready to talk, that Amory had already had this relationship with Shane from her prior reporting job, but Sophia is here and she's ready to tell her story. And she's not just here to tell a story of her trial and her case, which is now a cold case, but also the family dynamics. And I think that's what makes this so compelling, is that you have a couple tracks that are adding tension, that are things that you want to follow along with. So with the family story, she's talking about her son that she hasn't met, who was born when she was in jail.
And I do not want another one of his birthdays to go by without at least having an image of me and hearing the truth about what I'm sure he's read and heard about his entire life.
That's when I realized that Sophia is really trying to clear her name in the eyes of one person.
The only thing he will ever know is that I was accused. His grandmother is dead. This is my legacy.
And we've got all the other family, you know, Shane as well with the voice memos. I mean, I think it's just very compelling because this is such a study in a, you know, when you hear the family background, like a dysfunctional family, how does that dysfunctional family dynamic then play into this murder case? And that is very interesting to listen to.
I agree, because very often we hear about a murder case and we're like, why are we listening to this now? Like, what is it happening now? Like, what's happening about this right now? And there really isn't like movement on the case right now, but the stakes are Sophia has never met a son that she gave birth to when she was incarcerated. And of course, we know she got out because even at this point in the podcast where you're at, you know that she wasn't convicted because it's considered a cold case, right? Or something happened where it's considered a cold case. So those stakes are high, but there is also this family dysfunction, which, Amber, we hear at the very beginning of the podcast with these horrible, threatening voicemails from the dad.
Listen to me carefully. You're not ready for what will come down if you don't stop your nonsense and keep away.
If you guys attempt to sabotage or to trouble me in any which way or to try to slow down my life, I'm gonna fight you guys.
You don't know what you're playing with, okay?
Yeah, that was very well set up. I'm surprised that somebody would leave a voicemail knowing that a reporter was working on a piece about, because of course the reporter's going to use those voicemails. That's crazy. What I'm jealous of is how well this was organized for podcasts specifically. Part of that is luck with the case. You know, sometimes we choose cases that don't have all of the trial recorded, and this one did. But a lot of it was also just very smart prep work on the host part, because she's got Shane, because there's a Shane and a Sean.
Yes.
Shane is the brother who's looking for answers, not the one who testified against his sister. So Shane's making voice memos along the way. Those are really well integrated into the storytelling. She's recording the chit chat when she goes up to meet somebody. You've got all this great ambient sound. It really made for compelling storytelling.
And incredible music and sound design. And we learn in the credits that Amory herself did the music for this podcast, which is incredible.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to start a rivalry.
Yes, it's pretty.
I mean, like, I
incredible.
respect her, but we need to. She's ridiculous.
You're gonna cut a diss track.
It's so funny because
she's so good.
Well, I heard. You know, it's a partnership with ZSP Productions. You know who ZSP is, right?
No.
Zach Stewart Pontier.
Oh, right. From
but I don't know what that partnership looked like. I don't know if it was a marketing partnership or a resources partnership, because obviously a lot of reporting resources went into this, that, you know, and it's not a WBUR Boston-based story, so I'm not exactly sure what that looks like. But it's certainly like the mixing is gorgeous, the music is gorgeous, but the thing, Kevin, that really strikes me is that Amory makes it sound easy. It doesn't sound overworked. It sounds easy. Like the whole thing put together the flow is incredible. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about her delivery. It's a very natural conversational style. Like, I think this is how Sarah Koenig would sound if she didn't insist on that flat, this American lifestyle.
I thought that a few times too.
Yeah, right? And I also said, man, this sounds like Amber Hunt. But I think we've already covered that. And Amber's blushing, by the way, you just can't see it. We haven't even talked about, like, why we have reason to believe that Sophia may not be the killer, it's because brother Sean is shady AF, right?
Yep.
And so what Amory does is that she shows and doesn't tell this stuff. She just puts it out there, and we get up for ourselves. We're like, oh yeah, what the fuck? This guy did what? He's just saving his ass. He's obviously the killer. And even though Amory says that she wants to remain objective and she's not going to champion one side or the other, we as listeners want to champion Sophia, right? I mean, it's just a hallmark of a great series that as listeners, we're like, yeah, fuck that. We're on her side. And that's part of the beauty of this, because as you go on towards the back end of this series, you'll see how far you're willing to stay with that. And at what point are you willing to start saying, like, maybe the things that I've believed about all these different people, maybe they're not exactly that way.
Yes.
And at what point do I want to give up on that? Because we also start hearing Amory wondering about whether or not she should give up on that and what actually is happening.
It's very much like the staircase. I'm just going to... This is the closest...
There's an owl?
No.
Yes.
But there was no owl in the staircase either. To be fair, in the original series, there was no owl. It's very much like the staircase in that you have so much access to all these principal players, and you feel like you know what's going on. And then there are moments where you are like, maybe I have no fucking clue what's going on. And not only do you have Amory on this journey, but she also has Shane. And so he's also experiencing that with you. And the stakes are high for him. Like, this is his family. It's also like, if you think about his life, which is extraordinary, he escaped this family when he was, 13, 14 years old, moved back to New York, slept on the train, went to high school, got a job, rented a room, paid his way through college, and then went to law school after being unhoused in New York as a kid after escaping his Jehovah's Witness family after this murder happened. Like, his life went on this extraordinarily separate track. And it's like he's looking through a window at this family, and like, really, you can tell, like, is willing to sort of let it play out, but it's just an incredible unspooling. So, Laura Bricker, we do have a cop here, Detective Rick Buckner. What do you think? What do you think about this detective?
This detective, it's like your quintessential detective, right from the beginning when he is asked to describe himself or whatever, and he says something to the effect of, yeah, I'm a big asshole or something. And you hear him talking about, his reputation and how he can get anybody to confess and how he got the happy face killer to confess by like taking him out for dinner or something. And he's right out of central casting, right? But the fact that he could not get Sophia to confess is huge based on his sort of track record, but that he still believes that she is the one responsible. I found that super interesting. And I was just surprised, if he's such a super cop, that he wasn't seeing through Sean. Because at this point, I'm like, Sean has such a fucking history. Sean's got credit card debt. Sean's got his other girl who ran away. Like, Sean has so many things that are like, boom, boom, boom. These are reasons I would consider this guy. Oh, wait, Sean also has the blood on his boot. So I was like, okay, so this guy's super cop, but yet he didn't pick up on this.
There is no connection between Marlyne Johnson and Shane Correia. The only connection is Sophia Johnson.
And Sean had a story for the detectives that was about to fully connect the dots for them.
Eventually, he said that he didn't actually do it, but he was there when it happened, and that his sister is the one that actually bludgeoned Marlyne Johnson to death.
I always love it when we have one of these cops that's got like, the attitude and sort of the reputation. And now he's like, I'm now the lie detector guy or whatever. So to me, I just find him to be an interesting character who, is one of those characters that you almost feel like was written because sometimes he doesn't seem real.
100% sure he got it right, Kevin?
Absolutely. You can join us on Patreon. I'm just going right for it. It's 500 episodes now.
Just do it. 500. I mean, why be smooth about it?
I'm smooth as behind me right now. Now I'm just going to be explicit. Join us on Patreon at patreon.com/partnersincrime media. You can get episodes of Crime Writers On early and ad-free. You also can get all sorts of great exclusive content like Toby Ball's Deep Dive Book Club.
I just want to hit pause on that for a second. Amber, have you ever noticed that the name of Toby's book club has the words balls deep in the middle of it?
Isn't that the point?
Yes! Just wanted to make sure you knew that. Because sometimes listeners write to me and they're like, I don't know if you knew this, but... And I'm like, of course we fucking knew it. It was a listener contest that named the book club, and a listener came up with that. It was one of you perverts. All right, Kevin, go ahead.
Yeah, Toby right now is working on his next assignment. It is The Assassination of Fred Hampton, book by Jeffrey Haas. If you join at the deep dive level, you can watch Toby and his guests record that podcast. You can even take part, be in the chat section, jump on screen, you have a comment. There are other book clubs that we offer here on Patreon, and Laura Bricker has her book club, and it sounds crazy. What is your book club, Laura?
My book club is the No Rules Book, Gun, Smut, and Saber Club. And we have a lot of fun. And I think a lot of my book club members are going to be at Exeter Lit Fest and at our Crime Writers on show, maybe wearing shirts that say smut or something, or
Saber?
Kevin with the scarlet letter on them. I'm not sure, but they will be there.
That'll be me. I will also say that there is another book club that we should mention. Amber Hunt has her own book club podcast over at her Patreon, which is Grab Bag Collab.
It's a kick-ass Patreon.
All sorts of great stuff there. But we have to ask, Amber, why are you stealing our idea about book club podcasts? And why are you just going to steal all the good ideas?
That's the plan. I mean, clearly, you guys have had a good run, and it's time for a change.
Time to hang it up.
Yep. Rising tides lift all boats, Amber. I will say, you know why people should subscribe to Grab Bag Collab? There's an excellent show by me on there.
I know. I love that show.
OPP, Other People's Problems. Everyone on this panel right here has been on Other People's Problems. And I think, who here has won that? Not you.
Not me.
I think I won.
Not me.
I'm a two-time loser.
Were we tied in mine? I can't remember.
No, I think you won, Laura.
I think I won.
I think you won. Sorry, Amber.
Oh, I'm
Sorry,
jealous.
Amber. Anyway, what else we got,
Yeah,
Kevin?
I was on twice.
We're going to have a bracket
rigged.
with the losers, and you and I will go face-to-face. We also have other great things. We have the Crime Writers on After Show. We have Married with Podcast, our advice podcast that's out there. Also want to remind you, you should sign up for our Crime Writers on newsletter. It comes out every Thursday. It's free. Just go to crimewriterson.com, give us your email. You'll get all sorts of cool stuff, like you can see Crime Writers on behind the scenes. You get photos of the cat of the week, the tweet of the week, the new merch we have in the store, the post of the week. And we'll also have Toby's deep cut. Let me say it so it shocks Amber. Toby Ball's deep cut recommendations on Amazon and at our Amazon store. Go to amazon.com/shop/Crime Writers on. We get commissions on qualified purchases.
To be clear, you can buy all your Amazon shit there, not just stuff that Toby says you should.
Yeah, but but he's inspired.
But why would you deviate from that list?
Yes.
Why would you? Why would you?
Who doesn't want a bridal comb every day of the week? All right, Kevin, before we end the business section, I have to ask, do we have any Patreon patron saints of the week this week?
Our Patreon patron saints are Megan Maxey and Christine Dole-Mooser. Bless you.
Megan, Christine, thank you so much for supporting us on Patreon. Thank you to everyone who supports us on Patreon at every level. And thanks to those who are considering doing it. Listen, I'm going to give you a push. It's great back there. That's all I'm going to say. And if you have considered it, if you haven't considered it, we love you all. Thanks for muscling through the business section.
Go suck your mother.
Kevin, should I go ahead and fade that music out right now?
Fade it out.
So, Kevin, you thought this wasted too much time to get to the good stuff?
Yeah, you don't want to waste any time getting to the good stuff. That's why you got to use Factor. Eat stress-free this spring with Factor's delicious, ready-to-eat meals. Every fresh, never frozen meal is chef-crafted, dietitian-approved, and ready to eat in just 2 minutes. So what you can do from Factor is you can order they'll ship the meals right to your house, and you can customize your weekly meal so you can do it as much or as little as you need. You can pause, you can reschedule if you're going away. You don't have to get it that week. And they have different varieties. You can get a menu that's focused on keto, which I still don't know what that is exactly.
It's
but
like a lot of meat.
Okay. Well, then they also have protein plus.
Okay.
But I just
Sounds
go
like
with
a lot of meat too.
I just go with chef's choice because I figured the chef knows.
Yeah.
You know what my favorite thing is?
What?
That I've had recently? It was the loaded mashed potatoes with shredded chicken. And you realize which of those ingredients goes first? It's the potatoes, man. But it's fantastic, and I love it because now that we're in spring, 2 minutes is all I can take before I need to have a great meal and then get off to the baseball field.
Head to factormeals.com/crimewriters50.
CrimeWriters50.
And use code CrimeWriters50.
CrimeWriters50.
To get 50% off your first month plus 20% off your next month. That's code CrimeWriters50.
CrimeWriters50.
At factormeals.com/crimewriters50.
CrimeWriters50.
50% off your first box plus 20% off your next box while your subscription is active. So, Kevin, you thought this show could have benefited from better quality sound design?
Yeah, better quality is always better, and that's why I like to shop at Quince.
Ooh, Quince!
Imagine upgrading your wardrobe with luxury essentials at unbeatable prices. Quince is here to transform the way you shop with a range of high-quality items priced within reach. So all Quince items are priced about 50 to 80% less than similar brands, and they partner directly with top factories. So you know what they do? They cut out the middleman and pass the savings on to us.
Why are you talking about this and not me? This is literally one of my favorite places to shop. Okay. I love Quince.
You know who else loves it? It's Laura Bricker. Laura, tell us about the last thing that you got from Quince.
I got my most favorite new prized possession from Quince. I got this really nice black motorcycle jacket, and I am looking forward to wearing it on my little pink scooter as I drive around Exeter this spring. So far, I've just been wearing it around town, getting many compliments, and it really is buttery soft, real leather. It is fantastic.
Indulge in affordable luxury. Go to quince.com/crime for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns.
Wow.
That's QUINCE.com/crime to get free shipping and 365-day returns. So if it leap year...
Yeah,
that's right. You're out of luck.
That's
then.
right. It's clothes that begin with the letter Q, Alex.
Quince.com/crime.
Hulu and Disney Plus just got a little closer for Disney Bundle subscribers. Because now, the hottest Hulu movies, shows, and originals are on Disney Plus.
This is chemistry.
Like The Bear, Only Murders in the Building, Abbott Elementary, and of course, Family Guy.
Nothing here but respectful synergy.
Next to your favorites from Disney Plus. For Disney Bundle subscribers, Hulu is now on Disney Plus. Starting at $9.99 a month. All of these and more now streaming. Disney Bundle subscription required. 18 and over only. Select Hulu content available via Disney Plus. Additional content only available via Hulu app. Terms and restrictions apply.
All right, Amber, I have a question for you. As a narrative podcaster who's made a successful narrative series, one thing that this series does is Amory holds back a lot of details. She tells us a bunch of times, this is a cold case or whatever. And you're on episode 4, so you don't know yet why it's a cold case. So you haven't gotten there yet. And I found myself listening and I was like, I don't mind what I don't know yet. And that's a trick.
Yeah.
To have listeners not feel like, wait, what the fuck? What's going on? How do you do that? Because you do that really well, too.
Well, thank you. It is a little tricky. You have to find this balance between giving people enough and earning their trust so that when you say, we'll learn more about this later, that they know that you'll come back to it at the right time in the storytelling process. Nothing really annoys me more when I'm listening to one of these when everything is put off until the end. And we'll talk more about that in a bit. And we'll talk more. You have to give enough along the way so that you feel satisfied to at least some degree. Right now, I'm operating from the assumption that she was acquitted. I don't know if that's true. I'm okay with finding out otherwise, but I know that there are ways that a case that went to trial cannot end up with a verdict. So either there's a mistrial or she's acquitted or something happens along the way. I trust that I'm going to learn that when the time is right for the story.
Yeah.
Yeah, she unspools things like a really good novelist would. Because she gives the major details sort of up front, or sort of the things that you need to know right away. And because she does that, then you trust that you're going to hear the other things when it's the right time. And that, as opposed to sometimes we're like, well, what the fuck happens with this? Why are you not addressing this? You don't do that. It's very much like you would in a good movie or a good book, where you build conflict with suspense or surprise. And so we're left sort of in suspense on this stuff when things get revealed. I mean, right off the top, it's like the reason she was accused was that she was fingered by her brother Sean. And you're like, who the fuck is Sean? What's all this about? The way she does it is very compelling. So it does pull you in, and you're not worried about the stuff that you don't know yet because you're not impatient for why you don't have that.
It's amazing to me the link about why she was accused because she was the only link between Marlyne and Sean.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can I mention I love this cop?
Yes. As somebody points out later, Amber, she's 5'4" and like 8 months pregnant at this point, right? And so like this murder was brutal. Somebody was beaten to death, right, with this like fire poker thing. And she is this very small pregnant woman, and that was why she was the focus. And then Sean said it. And then the other thing that happens, Laura, is that all this stuff wasn't allowed in at the trial.
Yeah.
You'll find out more later about other stuff that wasn't allowed in that will make it even wilder. But how do you feel, Laura, as a defense investigator, when you hear about material that I don't think is, prejudicial against the other guy did it defense doesn't seem right to me.
Well, it is prejudicial. And I understand. I work in this field. It's just frustrating because I'm invested in this.
Sean isn't the defendant. She's the defendant.
She is, but technically, unless he has any prior crimes of dishonesty, you can't just bring in things like this because that is prejudicial. And I understand why that couldn't happen, but still listening to it as I'm invested in what actually happened in this case is very frustrating because I'm like, I know the rules and I know that because this happens to me all the time in my work where I'll be like, look at this great information I found. And they'll be like, we can't use it.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, no. And it's like, there's very specific rules about how you get that sort of background information in. So it could come in and like say he testifies and he testifies untruthfully. Then you can bring in a witness who's like, actually, will this happen? And there's ways that you can get information in. So I understood it, but I think at this point in the story, I'm invested in the Sean did it theory.
Yep.
And so hearing this and hearing that not only, is there this sort of bad blood between the siblings because Sophia takes in his ex-girlfriend who leaves him. We know he's violent. We know he's got this debt that's over there. We know he's got all sorts of issues and he's been violent and he's in need of money. And it's like, hello, that's perfect. And there's $10,000 in this house or this coat or whatever. So it's like that. When I hear it, makes me like, but I also understand that there is not a way to introduce all of that. But maybe later in the podcast, more information will come out.
Doesn't it seem like it seems like for me, when I was where you are, like the very easy conclusion to draw is that at some point, Sophia may have mentioned that there's money in this house. And that Sean is like, that's the connection, right? Sophia may have mentioned to her brother at some point that there's money in this house and that's why her brother committed this crime. I don't understand why the defense just didn't say that. Like, that's so simple. Like, you don't have to go through complicated motives.
They weren't allowed.
But they could just say that another guy did it. They could say that he did it without bringing in...
Or they could, if she had testified, does Sophia testify? I don't know. But if she had testified, they could have asked her, did you tell anybody else about this money?
But they could also just say that at closing. Like, there's so many things that they could do just to...
hang on to your panties.
I am just saying, I drew that conclusion as a listener, and I don't understand why the cops didn't draw that conclusion.
Right.
But one of the things that's interesting to me, Amber, is that I think my criminal justice, like social justice forward thinking makes me sort of lean toward like a 19-year-old kid is a kid. And, the things that happen to that kid very much sort of frame who they are. And we don't necessarily like want to say pejorative things about that kid. But Sean really sounds like a terrible person. It's shocking to hear all the things he did by the time he was 19 and not things that are like mistakes, things that seem like sociopathic almost.
Yeah, no, unless something's changed by episode 9, if his character has stayed pretty well as they've established it so far, he doesn't make the strongest witness. And I am curious why that was enough.
Yeah.
Especially when there was a little bit of physical evidence and it didn't point at her. It pointed at him.
Shane told me that hearing his brother's version of events finally left him more confused.
There are a lot of details. To me, it sounds like something you would see on TV for someone who's coming up with a story.
What is your perception of Sean at 19, Kevin, and sort of his presence in the podcast generally?
Oh, he's shady AF. It's not a spoiler to say, right off the top, we hear voice messages from the dad and from Sean to Sophia and Shane. And again, we know that she's going to get all the right people to comment on this. And when you find out sort of like where his life goes, it goes in a really odd direction too.
Does.
But he makes for a very interesting character. And then when a lot of this is sort of like looking at the past, when the podcast gets to the part where we're sort of in the present and things are happening now, that really ramps up the stakes and kind of, the narrative payoff that we've got going on here. And that's why I'm screaming that I could only listen to 9 out of 10.
Yeah. So, Amber, are you curious about the family dynamics here? Because we hear some of the stuff in the voice memos, but clearly that is a thread here. Like, do you think this podcast is more about murder or more about a fucked up family?
Well, it's starting about murder, but there was an interesting point early on where they start reading through psychological evaluations of family members. Mm-hmm. And that was fascinating. That is immediately where I went, well, this is new. I haven't heard this in another podcast. Right. I haven't dealt with it in an investigation. So there's this situation where the parents are divorcing and there's a custody fight. And one of the kids, who turns out to be Sean, the one who accuses Sophia of killing her mother-in-law, he's aligned with the dad, and the other 2 children are aligned with the mom. And it sounds like a really fraught, potentially physically dangerous situation. That's a different feel than in most of these podcasts.
Yeah. Laura, what did you think hearing those reports? Because that felt very new to me too. That's not like insight that we've been able to see, because usually reports like that are sealed, right? And we don't usually get to, we're not usually privy to them.
No, I get to read those reports for my job. And so I find this sort of thing very interesting. This is something that might show up if you're, looking at a case like somebody in the criminal justice, like that's been convicted, and they do like a pre-sentence investigation or something like this might be in there. Or if they've had like an expert evaluate somebody, but it's all sealed and it's all something that the attorneys and the judge see. So I think in this case, it's really interesting because it's setting up another layer of depth about the family and about the people involved and sort of what their motivations are, what their personalities are, what their issues are, so that as this story unfolds, I think that information is going to make everything make a lot more sense when you see how sort of the chips fall and different people land where they do. And I always just find that interesting myself. It's just part of why I like doing the job that I do, is that I don't think you really see anybody involved in murder cases or, serious criminal cases that doesn't have some sort of fucked up thing in their family. And that's usually a big contributing factor into why people end up in the place that they do in these cases. So I always find it really interesting because I think it just sort of sheds light on how we get where we do when you see where we came from.
Yeah, and Sophia kind of becomes this mother figure, and it even explains why they all became Jehovah's Witnesses, right? Which was fascinating.
That was crazy. The whole situation where they went to become Jehovah's Witnesses because their family was so fraught and dysfunctional. And so she said, I'm going to go there like 3 times a week and take Shane because that's a safe place to go when my mom's not home and my mom's at work. And it was like super boring, but it was safe.
Yeah.
But then when she leaves the Jehovah's Witnesses and marries Brad,
gets
oh my goodness.
Disfellowshipped.
Yes.
That's a thing. I used to work with, when I worked in bridal industry, which I did for a while in a bridal shop, I worked with some Jehovah's Witnesses, and I am very familiar with the disfellowshipping because one of them was disfellowshipped while I worked with her, and it was a lot. It was a lot for that young person. Kevin, final thing I want to ask you is, without Sophia's personality being in the podcast, there's so much of Sophia, right? Mm-hmm. Sophia's a very warm person. Sophia's a very engaging person. And Sophia's a very credible person. Would this podcast work as well?
You mean if it was somebody that
we were hearing about, not hearing from, or perhaps somebody that we were hearing less of, or perhaps somebody that sounded different?
Somebody sounded different?
Yes.
Yeah, no, I think that she is a great asset to the podcast, and she is someone who tells her story very well. We become very sympathetic and believe her. That's a big thing to have to answer for. Did you kill somebody? And when she says that she didn't, then it makes it easy to believe her when she comes across as somebody who is honest and has been through a lot. And she's certainly suffering because she hasn't ever been with her son.
And she owns up to her bad decisions.
She owns up to her bad decision. Yeah, yep. She's candid about, the things that she did, like her own previous bad acts that come up in her story and are presented at trial and things like that. So she comes off as somebody who's very credible, and that's important for the story, for good and for bad.
Hulu and Disney Plus just got a little closer for Disney Bundle subscribers. Because now, the hottest Hulu movies, shows, and originals are on Disney Plus.
This is chemistry.
Like The Bear, Only Murders in the Building, Abbott Elementary, and of course, Family Guy.
Nothing here but respectful synergy.
Next to your favorites from Disney Plus. For Disney Bundle subscribers, Hulu is now on Disney Plus. Starting at $9.99 a month. All of these and more now streaming. Disney Bundle subscription required. 18 and over only. Select Hulu content available via Disney Plus. Additional content only available via Hulu app. Terms and restrictions apply.
Hey everyone, it's Ted from Consumer Cellular, the guy in the orange sweater, and this is your wake-up call. If you're paying too much for wireless service, you don't have to keep having that nightmare. Consumer Cellular has the same fast, reliable coverage as the leading carriers for up to half the cost. So why keep spending more than you have to? Seriously, wake up and call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com.
Savings based on cost of Consumer Cellular single line 1, 5, and 10 gig data plans with unlimited talk and text compared to lowest cost single line postpaid unlimited talk, text, and data plans offered by T-Mobile and Verizon January 2024.
Your business was humming, but now you're falling behind. Your teams are buried in manual work, tasks are taking forever to complete, and getting one source of truth is like pulling teeth. If this is you, then you should know these three numbers: 37,000. That's the number of businesses that have upgraded to NetSuite by Oracle. NetSuite is the #1 cloud financial system, streamlining accounting, financial management, inventory, HR, and more. 25. NetSuite turns 25 this year. That's 25 years of helping businesses do more with less, close their books in days, not weeks, and drive down costs. One, because your business is one of a kind. Get a customized solution for all your key performance indicators in one efficient system with one source of truth. Manage risk, get reliable forecasts, and improve margins. With NetSuite, it's everything you need to grow, all in one place. Get your business back to the greatness where it belongs. Learn more at netsuite.com/podcast25.
Okay, let's do what we do. Let's let our listeners know, should they check out the podcast Beyond All Repair? This is a podcast from WBUR. Laura Bricker, what do you think? Thumbs up or thumbs down for Beyond All Repair?
Yeah, this is a thumbs up from me. This is a really fascinating case, and it is told in a very compelling way with fantastic writing. You know, it's not just a crime story. It's a family story. It's a cold case. It's a mystery. We've got access to a lot of the players, and it's something that when each episode ends, the way that it ends makes you want to keep listening to the next episode. And I am very curious to hear what happens with this case at the end of this podcast. So I will definitely keep listening. It's a big thumbs up for me.
Amber Hunt, what do you think? Thumbs up or thumbs down for Beyond All Repair?
Yeah, definitely a thumbs up for me. It's really compelling. It's well done. I'll definitely finish it, which is actually a bigger deal than it sounds like, because I make a point to not listen to crime podcasts in my time off, and I'm gonna stick with this one. It's really, really good.
Kevin Flynn.
I think this is an instant classic. This is definitely going to be on my top 10 list. I know, Rebecca, it's going to be on your top 10 list. This is a word we don't usually use to describe a true crime podcast. It's exciting. It has sort of a thrill of, I don't want to say a thrill of the chase, but it certainly was the kind of thing where I just wanted to get to the next episode, and that doesn't always happen. Certainly hope for Anne-Marie is like, I didn't spend 2 years doing this, so 3 Yahoos and Amber Hunt could tell me that it was mediocre. I mean, this was really great. And like I said, I'm just dying to know how this ends. I might, caution people, maybe don't start listening. Maybe wait till everything's there. Yeah.
Or at least a few more, yeah.
Yeah, because once it stops, I mean, it gets to a point where it's just going, you got to get to the next one. You got to get to the next one. So anyway, I don't want to oversell it, but for me, this is a really big thumbs up. It's quite an achievement.
Yeah, I'm going to oversell it. I think this is as close to a perfect podcast as I have ever heard. Period. This podcast is extraordinarily good. My favorite straight true crime podcast of all time is season 1 of Suspect. I think I like this better than season 1 of Suspect, and that is saying something huge for me. This podcast is expertly constructed. This podcast is beautifully told, beautifully made, and what I love about it is that it doesn't do the thing that I always say these kinds of podcasts need to do, which illuminate something larger, right? This podcast, what it really does is it's telling one mystery, looking into one family, but it is so good. It's very much like the first time I watched The Staircase. And I was like, I feel this way. Now I feel this way. Now I think this. Now I think this. That's what this podcast does. And I haven't felt this way listening to a podcast. I can't remember the last time I felt this way listening to it. I probably suspect season 1 was the last time I felt this way. Maybe the first time I listened to Serial back in 2014. Maybe. This podcast is extraordinary. And like, I mean, the details, the mixing, the music, the writing. Amory does an incredible trick, which I will say, having made the quip a couple weeks ago, that podcasts from Celia Productions are overworked and they sound like it. This thing sounds easy. She makes it sound like it just came out of her. Like she just opened her mouth and it came out as is, like it was an easy project. I know it was very, very fucking hard to do, but it sounds easy, and that is a masterclass in podcast making. So yeah, this is a 25 thumbs up for me podcast, and I just cannot wait for people to listen to it, and I can't wait to talk about it, and I want to talk about it with everyone. So listen to it and tweet at me about it, please. Huge thumbs up for me for this podcast.
It's complex without being complicated.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's straightforward. It's great.
Fucking perfect. Now it's time for my favorite part of the podcast, a little something I like to call the Crime of the Week.
Crime of the Week!
Coming to our shores soon, Titanic 2. No, not a sequel to the 1997 Oscar winner, or not even the elaborate prank movie Walter Cruz played on a fellow soldier called Titanic Rising. No, Titanic 2 will be a new cruise ship made to the specs of the original vessel. Australian billionaire Clive Palmer announced the construction of Titanic 2 is back on track more than 10 years after his original project stalled. Wonder why? Palmer had plans to construct the replica of the 56,000-ton boat at a shipyard in China back in 2016. Money woes and the pandemic scuttled the project, but Palmer now believes assembling can begin by the end of the year. Palmer promised his ship would be, quote, far superior than the original, which would kind of be the fucking point. So Anchors Away panel, what upgrades would you hope to see on Titanic 2? Laura Bricker, what do you think?
Free Wi-Fi for all the guests.
That's literally what I wrote down. Amber Hunt, what upgrades would you hope to see on Titanic 2?
At least 2 or 3 more lifeboats.
Kevin Flynn, what do you think?
Larger floating doors.
Yes!
So Jack could get on.
A bigger fucking door. All right, that's going to do it for us. But before
Hopefully
we go...
not 100 guys shoveling coal to get you there all night long. Yeah.
Hopefully a steerage section that does not have cages that lock people in. That would also be good. Or maybe not a steerage section at all. All right, Laura Bricker, that's going to do it for us. But before we go, I have to ask, do we have a cat of the week this week?
Yes, the cat of the week is Reggie. Reggie is in a campaign to get his owner, Ty, fired. He sits in front of my screens. I constantly look over him to work, and then he moons my boss and colleagues during meetings. But here he is looking all nice and polite in the picture that he was sent in. So, Reggie, don't trust the nice and polite photo. And don't get your mom fired, because then how are you going to get your treats?
Are we saying that Reggie is showing his little cat star on Zoom? That's the problem?
Yes, he is.
It's disgusting.
Yes, he is.
All right, Laura Bricker, if folks want to reach out to you and pitch their animals, can be any kind of animal, of course. I prefer the happy live ones, not the recently dead ones, to be cat of the week. How can they find you online?
You can find me at Laura Bricker on Twitter and Instagram.
Amber Hunt, it's your chance to pitch all the things. How can folks find you?
Okay, so I've got a podcast called Crimes of the Centuries that comes out every Monday. I've got Grab Bag Collab, which is a Patreon-based network, and that's got not only Crimes of the Centuries, early and ad-free, but also shows like Dear Daisy with Daisy Egan and Shut the Fuck Up Nick Lachey with Daisy and Ellen Marsh, and Other People's Problems with the amazing Rebecca Lavoie. You may have heard of her. Find me at those places.
Kevin Flynn, how can you be found?
I'm at Kevin P. Flynn, and I don't have any of that other shit.
And if you want to follow me on Twitter or Instagram, you can find me at Reb Lavoie. Follow the show everywhere, Crime Writers On, and please join our Facebook group. It's fucking awesome. Just go to Facebook, find us as a pinned post to join the group. Get episodes early and ad-free at patreon.com/Partners in Crime Media and get all the other stuff we make there. Our theme song was composed and performed by Ty Gibbons. Our line editor is the wonderful Livy Burdett. The executive producer of this program is Kevin Flynn. This show was recorded in the Treehouse Yoga Studio above the Mockingbird Cafe in Bay St. Louis, Mississippi studio, otherwise known as Studio C, the Closet, in our New Hampshire basement, where we also ease up on the garlic in our hummus when we're having company. On behalf of all the crime writers, thanks so much for listening. We will catch you later. It's just an incredible unspooling, right? Should I come to you or not? No? No, okay.
Oh, yeah, I mean,
never mind.
You weren't setting me up.
That's fine. That's fine.
Talked for 2 minutes.
You
didn't ask a question.
Hey.
Say, yes.
Hey.
You're the love of her life.
I
Not
know,
anymore.
right?
Not anymore.
Partners in Crime Media.
Your business was humming, but now you're falling behind. Your teams are buried in manual work, tasks are taking forever to complete, and getting one source of truth is like pulling teeth. If this is you, then you should know these three numbers: 37,000. That's the number of businesses that have upgraded to NetSuite by Oracle. NetSuite is the #1 cloud financial system, streamlining accounting, financial management, inventory, HR, and more. 25. NetSuite turns 25 this year. That's 25 years of helping businesses do more with less, close their books in days, not weeks, and drive down costs. One, because your business is one of a kind. Get a customized solution for all your key performance indicators in one efficient system with one source of truth. Manage risk, get reliable forecasts, and improve margins. With NetSuite, it's everything you need to grow, all in one place. Get your business back to the greatness where it belongs. Learn more at netsuite.com/podcast25.